everyone, we'll see if this works. I'm having a little trouble with my emulator right now. But I think I fixed the space issue, so without further ado, here's Alice, the Clover game, where we left off. We're still in the assembly loop, so we're going to go on ahead and choose the twins. Want to get out of here? So, the one that I got was like, oh, older sister, you have a weird face. What happened? And I believe that's actually They're like, you hate this form. If you like the appearance of a child, why not ask us to go back? Yep, this is that one. And he's like, oh yeah, after all, it feels like my body is more comfortable this way. And then it fades out. So we're going to choose the twins again. But only for a few more times, because we end the assembly like this did. The one that I got was, your sister has a lousy look, brother. Which might actually be this one. He's like, what do you want me to say about that? Dee asked, and she wanted us to be an adult again, but I think she can't say anything. And then Dumb's like, I think so too, because my sister is shy. Okay, well then I'll be an adult again. And the twins are like, yeah, this is good. The twins are like, how are you feeling now? Are you happy? If you're happy, play with us. And then it fades out. And the event should be triggered to end the assembly on us. Thank Fudge. Guys, that was a long assembly. That was like several videos. So far, so good. Let's hope it stays that way. No errors. So here's where the event actually ends for the assembly. Wait for this to load. Alright. And Alice is like, it's over. I feel like it's been a long time since the assembly began. She's like, despite being long, nothing was decided. And the butler's like, he's like, I can't help it. It's common for them not to decide something at a meeting like this. And then like, that's right. That's what an assembly meeting is like, and it can't be helped, she told them. They talk so slow, oh my gosh. He's like, it's meaningless because it's undecided. It's more like a meeting than a real discussion at these. Alice is like, yeah, after a pause, and I've been told that it's pointless over and over again. I think it was pointless. It's not an exaggeration.
誇張なんてそんなこと誰もしないですよ
The butler's like, it is no exaggeration. Nobody here does that kind of thing to you. She's like, is that so? Alice asks him.
そうです。あなたに対してはボスもエリオット様もそんなことしませんよ。
The maid confirms. She's like, that's right. To you, neither Boss nor Elliot would do that. Meaning, like, the Hatter Mafia main family.
ありのままを伝えているはずです。だって皆様、あなたをとても大事になさってますから。
The butler confirms. He's like, I'm supposed to tell you straight what it is because you're a very important person to everyone.
そうですよ。とても大事になさってます。ですから、誇張なんてしないはずです。
The maid's like, yes, it's very important, and so I shouldn't exaggerate to you. Alice is like, it really wasn't an exaggeration.
なんだかお疲れのように見えますけど、早く着替えられた方がいいんじゃないですか。
The butler asks her, it looks like you're tired for some reason. Isn't it better to change your new clothes out soon? Because they had to dress up for the
慣れない
assembly.
服を着るのは疲れますから。
And the maid
私
confirms.
たちも疲れました。
She's like, you're tired of wearing clothes you're not used to, and we're tired too. They really talk slowly.
着替えた方がいいですよ。俺たちも着替えますから。
The butler's like, you should change your clothes, and we'll change clothes too. Alice confirmed she'll do that. I will do that. And trailed off. They changed their clothes this scene. Back to normal.
どうですか？少しは楽になりました？
The maid's like, how is it? A little easier on you now?
何か欲しいものとかありますか？持ってきますけど。
The butler's like, do you have anything you want us to do? I mean, I will bring it, though, for you. Here. She's like, thank you, but I'm alright. She's like, I don't need anything. She told him, even if I changed my clothes, it's quite a different thing. Even if I had to wear new clothing, it's tiring to wear clothes that are close to formal wear.
そうですよね。
And the maid's like, that's right. Because they agree.
普段着のように着慣れてませんからね。
He tells her, the butler, I'm not used to wearing those like my everyday clothes.
それに少し堅苦しいですもんね。
The maid's like, and it's a little bit stiff to wear them. Alice confirms. She's like, well, it is a little stiff to wear clothing like that. She's like, the clothes you guys were wearing also seems to be stiff, like in design. And you were tired too then? Question mark.
ええ、すごく疲れました。
The butler's like, yes, I'm so tired.
疲れました。疲れてだるだるです。
The maid's like, I'm tired from the event, and I'm tired and so very tired from the clothing. Like them both. Alice is like, I think it's always been normal for you guys to be lazy, though.
ひどいです。
And the butler's like, how mean? Which is hidoi.
こんなことありませんよ。
The maid's all offended. She's like, there is no such thing. Like, we're not. They're not lazy.
普段はもっとビシッとしてますよ。
And the butler's also refuting it. He's like, usually I'm of a more stiff demeanor.
キビキビ仕事してますから。
And the maid's still offended. She's like, I'm also working hard because it's for you.
今は疲れてだらーっとしてますけどね。
The butler's like, I'm tired right now too, but I'm actually tired of all of this, and I'm starting to feel lazy now. So he's like, yeah, but he backtracks.
普段はこんなじゃありませんよ。
And the maid's like, it's not like us at all. This isn't normally how we are. And Alice is like, I think it is. She's like to herself, no, I think you're absolutely lazy, and I think you're just showing it now. She's like ruthless. Alice is like, you're viable for work, but otherwise lazy. She's talking to herself.
大丈夫ですか？なんだかとても疲れたように見えますよ。
The butler's like, isn't it okay right now? I mean, it just looks like I'm very tired, right?
もう休んだ方がいいんじゃないですか。足型も入ってないですし。
The maid's like, I think it's better to take a rest. Isn't that right? And then she's like, I don't have a job to do either right now.
ゆっくり休んでください。
The butler's like, please rest slowly. Alice is like, thank you, well, I'll take a rest. You guys should take a good rest too.
ありがとうございます。
And the maid's like, thank you very much.
ありがとうございます。ちゃんと休ませてもらいますよ。
They're all happy that she like gave them leave because they're blushing. And the butler's like, thank you, I'll take a rest too. Alice tells him, but I'm really tired, and I didn't think it was that kind of a thing that takes the wind out of your sails. She's talking about the assembly.
会合で何も決まらないことに驚いたんですか？
And the maid's like, are you surprised that nothing is decided at the meeting? Alice is like, I'm not surprised. Well, I can only say that I'm tired of it all now.
会合はそういうものですから。
The butler tells her the meeting is just like that. Like, they go like that.
何も決まらない。中身がなくて意味もない。会合はだいたいそういうものなんです。
And I think here they're talking about Nightmare, because they go, it can't decide anything. And I think they mean Nightmare can't decide anything, because he's the one running these. And she's like, a meeting that doesn't mean anything is worthless, because its emptiness is just like that.
時々そうじゃない会合があることもありますけどね。でも本当に時々ですから。
Doki Doki Desuka, I believe, is like where it's a heart pounding one. So the butler's like, sometimes there are meetings that aren't meaningless, because sometimes it's a really intense heart pounding one.
予定が決まった時の会合がそうでしたね。
And the maid agreed. She's like, it was the same when any, like, real agreement was decided at one of these. It was just like that.
意味はなかったですけど、協定が決まりましたから。無意味でしたけど、中身はあったということですね。
They speak so slowly. It doesn't make sense, he said. But then an agreement was decided in the past, and it was meaningless the rest of the time. But the contents were there in the end of those one meetings. So, like, the little, like, one-off meetings where they decide something, he's like, well, the content was there. But the rest are meaningless.
協定が決まったということは中身があったということですからね。
The maid confirmed. She's like, when an actual agreement is decided, it means that there was that there was actually some contents to it.
でもそれってとても珍しいことなんです。
And the butler's like,
無意味で何も決まらないのが普通です。
he speaks so slowly, like more slowly than the maid. He's like, but that's a rare thing, and it's usually meaningless, and it's normal to decide nothing.
ですからこればかりは慣れていただくしかないんですよ。
And the maid's like, and that's why you just have to get used to it. She's like, it's whatever. Alice is like, I don't think we usually would talk about stuff like that. She means like in her world. And finally we are through the assembly. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh. That was it. Now they might trigger some more. I believe like another third of the way through. We're gonna have like another one because they happen throughout the game. But there's a purpose to this. When we were choosing all of the twins, it basically advances us with Pierce because they're his bullies, and you kind of need to, like, visit other people, I found out, playing Elliot. So, and we will advance with Pierce this time. And gain a second heart by the end. Alrighty. So, I'm gonna do what I did before in my own, even though I know that it won't get us anywhere. It's gonna say here, I couldn't meet because the time was not right. The clock had changed to dusk. So far, it's just like my PSP play after the assembly. And then it's like, on my way home, I picked up an hourglass, and the number of uses in this one is 2. The one I picked up in my PSP was 1, so we got lucky here. And it's like the hourglass has only 2 remaining usages left, or 3, because we had an extra one earlier. Sorry. So there was one that was already in our stockpile. And then the clock changes, and hopefully it changes today so we can go see Pierce to get our event. Please change today. It changed tonight. Dang nabbit. Alright, well we'll just switch stuff around. So... I'm gonna actually choose Boris early, because I want to keep them to the same amount of visits. Alright, here we go. Here's my Boris visit.
こんばんは。どう？初めての引っ越しが終わった感想は？
And I believe he's saying, good evening, Alice. How are you feeling after your first move?
前に来た時は感想なんか聞ける状態じゃなかっただろ。今ならちゃんとした感想を聞けるかなって思って。
It might be different though, because with mine, it was like, well, you weren't in a state where I could hear your impressions when you came before. I wonder if I can hear them properly now.
あんなの引っ越しじゃないってまだ言うのあんた。あれが引っ越し以外のなんだっていうのさ。
And then he's like, it's not the real kind of moving. I mean, you still say this, do you? What do you say it is other than that type of moving?
そのうち慣れるよ。この世界で過ごす限り、引っ越しには慣れざるを得ないからね。
I heard Konosekai said this world. He's like, well, you'll get used to it. As long as you spend time in this world, you have to get used to the moving. He's talking about, like, where she shifted from Heart Country to Clover Country. Still. And then it fades out. So yay! And then hopefully it changes today so we can get our Pierce event. Please change today. Change today. Did it change today? Yes! Sort of. I think it looks like day, maybe. If it's not day, then I'm mad. Gosh, dang it. Alright, whatever. We're switching it today. Like, I'm not gonna play this game with them. Change today. Thank you. Change right now. And it's like you are left with 2 uses, which I don't care because on my PSP I have no uses. So, whatever. Give me day. It better be day, because I just used an hour less. Thank you. You're shortcutting, because I want that event. Like, give me right now.
また遊びに来てくれたんだね。たくさん会いに来てくれて嬉しいよ。
Man, this is not what I was supposed to be getting right now.
俺に会いに来てくれるのって猫とか意地悪双子を除けば君くらいだから本当に嬉しい。
Stop it. This sucks. I was supposed to get an event right here. I'm confused on why that happened. I'm like super confused on why that happened. And I'm a little mad. Alright, well, here's one that I got. Oh, wow. Okay, so we got this. This is random. I'm mad. It's still an event, but it's not the event that we wanted. Alrighty. We're not here is the top. I'm happy too is the middle. And then you can't be fooled is the bottom. So I'm just gonna say I'm happy too.
じゃあ一緒だね。お揃いだ。なんだかくすぐったいな。嬉しくってくすぐったい。
And he's saying at the top, then we'll be together. It's the same. And oh no, it tickles me inside.
友達ってこういうものなの?
That she answered that way. We're friends, right? And then it fades out. This still really makes me mad though, because that was supposed to be an event, and I don't know what happened with my event now. Which has not happened in the past. I usually time them. Alright, well it's still day, so let's see about trying to figure it out. Alright. Yes, my event! I was like, where is it? So maybe that question had to like happen first. Because they do randomly generate. And if you don't get it, it won't give you the event. And this is my event.
君は騙されているんだよ。とっても騙されている。これ以上騙されようがないほどに騙されているんだよ。
He's like, do everything that you can when you're here. Anyhow, come on. You're the one who they've been fooling, and hear me out. Take this, he tells her. She's like, Pierce also insists that I'm being tricked right now. He said that I was being deceived and lectured me towards the cat. Boris, basically. She's like, I'm not fooled. Cats are not able to make me afraid. And only if you were to be deceived by his cuteness. Is that why he's saying this? And she trailed off. And she's like, in her head, I do not mind being deceived then. Because she thinks cats are cute. She's like, or rather, and then trailed off to herself. Well, what are you saying I'm fooled about? I don't know what he's talking about.
君はいつ猫に食べられちゃってもおかしくないほど騙されている。
He's like, whenever a cat eats you, it's like it's an amazing surprise. Like, I'm going to say I was fooled about you before.
あいつらと来たら、それは騙すのがうまい生き物なんだ。猫と来たら。
He's like, they are like this, and it's only a cat-loving creature that sleeps with a cat because of this. Alice tells him, don't say such things about a cat so badly. Because she has one at home. And she's like saying to herself, my Pierce is so scared of cats. And I wanted them to love him, but he seems to really hate Boris. If he's as big as a mouse, there might not be a way to avoid hating cats. Even so, with him being big, he definitely hates cats no matter what I think about them. And it's a shame, she concludes, because I like cats. She tells him aloud, Dinah is my cute domestic cat. Boris is my friend. You might be helpless because you're a mouse, but don't say such things and so badly about them.
君、本気で猫が好きなの？あんなに怖くて凶悪な生き物が？
Pierce tells her, Alice, do you really like cats? Do you really have such a scary and evil creature for a pet? She's like, a cat is neither something that makes me afraid, nor is it atrocious. I repeat myself, but no matter how many times you say this, Pierce won't make sense of it, she concludes. And she tells him aloud, so I like cats. Yeah, I like them. And she tells him because they're cute and kind.
優しい？
He's like friendly.
優しいって言った？優しいって。猫は優しくなんかない。可愛くないよ。
He's like, you said gentle and kind? Cats aren't kind. They aren't cute. He's like all angry. She tells him, well, they're not kind to the mouse, and trailed off.
誰にとっても優しくないよ。あいつらは猛獣だから。君は騙されてるんだ。
He's like, they're not kind to anyone because they're beasts. You're going to be gutted. She's like, I haven't had them disembowel me and I am not fooled. I got a couple different answers for that, so I combined the translations. She's like, that's too much. What he's saying. He's just being noisy now.
騙されてるんだよ。騙されてるんだよ。食べられちゃったらどうするの？
He tells her, you're being tricked, and oh, you ate it up. What's the matter with you?
もっと警戒しないとダメ。ダメだよ。
He's like, we must be more vigilant, and this is no way to be. She's like, he's too noisy, after a pause.
うるさくないよ。うるさくするのも当然だよ。だって食べられちゃってからだと遅いんだよ。
He's all offended. He's like, I'm not being too noisy. It's natural to be noisy now on this, because isn't it too late after you've been eaten?
パックリ食べられちゃったら嫌でしょ？
He's like, I don't want us to be eaten at all, right? Huh? She's like, after a pause, yes, sir. She's like, I'm not going to be able to be eaten, and I'm not a little animal, okay? Right?
小動物じゃなくたって食べられちゃうよ。猫は大きくなれるんだ。俺が大きくなれるみたいにね。
He tells her, you can be eaten without being a small animal. Cats can grow big, like I can grow up. He's talking about how he can shrink and how he can grow taller, because he has that power as part of his role. She doesn't know this, though, because none of that's, like, familiar to her. She's from the real world. And she also doesn't know that he's, like, homicidal, which we'll get into in a little bit.
君だって大きくも小さくもなるよ。
He tells her, Alice, you can grow big or small here in Wonderland. She's like, it won't happen. And she thinks to herself, does he grow up or small down? Trailing off.
どうして ってそんなこと言えるのさ。小さくなっちゃった時どうするの？
Pierce tells her why. Why can you say that? What should I do about when I or we get smaller? He's talking about shrinking her right here, but she doesn't catch it. She's like, don't worry, you don't have to wonder about that. She thinks it's impossible. She's like, silly child, I've got a headache from him now. She's like to herself, Pierce is not like a rat, but also is different than a normal mouse for an animal. And she doesn't have a reply to herself after she thinks that. But then she's like, blushing. She's like, this kid is also cute though. And then she's like, this thought seems to worry me, that she thinks he's cute. And then she's like, unlike my favoring of cats, he's a favoring that I may not be able to buy into fully. I mean, it's not a bluff or a fool. He's cute. But unlike the way my Dinah is to me, so she's worried now. She doesn't like love. She's thinking to herself, cats are certainly clever creatures, but he's cute even if he's shaken around. Because he's so skittish. She's like, of course, I've never touched a rat in my original world, and I don't know what kind of creature that is. She's like, I'm not familiar with them. She's like, I don't know about that in the real world. And then she trails off. She's like, but he's cute. She's talking about Pierce. She's like in love with him now, because we should be at 2 hearts soon. And she's like, he does not smell bloody like the others in the world. She's like, he is a child who seems to have nothing to do with violence. So she likes him for that reason. But she doesn't know he's homicidal and that he's the cleaner for the freaking mafia family. She thinks to herself, he's cute right here. So cute. She's like a child who seems to be weak and unlikely to shoot a gun. She likes that. And she thinks to herself, She's like, that? Question mark? And Pierce is like, question mark? Like, what? And then she concludes to herself, though, looking at him, that he's dirty, too, because he's got smudges and mud and whatnot on him. She's like, it should change to another CG here soon. There we go. She's like, here, for your cheeks. And she's trying to wipe off the mud on him while he's blushing and, like, twitching from it. So cute. I rub the dirt off, and Pierce squints and acts like it tickled. And he laughed embarrassingly.
ネズミって汚れやすいんだ。
He tells her a rat is easy to get dirty, as if an apology. And she doesn't have a reply at first, because she's, like, checking him out. And then she, like, says all suspiciously, has anyone been bullying you? Like, why are you so dirty right now?
違うよ。違う。これはね、いじめられたんじゃないよ。
So Chigao is like, wrong idea, no. So he actually, like, it translated to, No, this isn't from being bullied, he told her.
猫や双子は俺のことをいじめるけど、これはそうじゃない。
Pierce is like, cats and the twins bully me, so he's like, Boris and the twins bully me. But this is not the case this time around. She's like, after a long pause, really? Like, she doesn't believe him.
ほんと。いじめられてないよ。
He's like, yeah, I've not really been bullied. She's like, once I noticed the details of it, he was definitely dirty, more than normal. But it was working, though, because she's talking about cleaning him off. And she's like, for some reason, he's all muddy. She's like, don't move. I'll give this to you. And Pierce doesn't have a reply at first. She's like, you're pretty dirty, aloud. Pierce still doesn't have a reply.
君、優しい子なんだね。汚れなんて触りたがらないものなのに。
He tells her, you're a kind child, Alice. You don't want to touch the dirt, though. So he's, like, trying to, like, smooth it over. Like, don't worry. She's like, that's normal, as is this. Here, turn around a little more, especially here. And she's, like, trying to, like, clean him off still.
俺、ネズミだからだいたいいつも汚れているよ。汚れてもそのうちきれいになる。
Pierce tells her, I'm a mouse, so I'm usually dirty. And even if I'm dirty, I will be clean soon. He's like all embarrassed. And she's like, but you should be clean now. And she's like, when are you dirty? Because she's visited him a lot and he's never been this dirty. She's like, aren't you really being bullied? She like demanded.
ないよ、ない。それより、俺、君の方が心配。君ってしっかり者だけど、いい子だから騙されやすそう。
He tells her, no, I'm more worried about you, but I'm sure you're a good girl, so it's easy to be hoping for you to be safe. And he's like trying to like wave off her concerns. He actually changed his CG to open his eyes while she's like cleaning him off and to like wave his hand in front of her as if like, no, that's not what the case is.
もっと疑ってかかった方がいいよ。よそ者だから知らないんだろうけど。
He's like, you better suspect others more and ask more questions. He's talking about the fact that everyone in Wonderland deceives her. He's like, you probably don't know this though because you're an outsider. Pierce is one of the kindest ones.
騙そうとするものはいっぱいあるんだよ。猫とか、猫、にゃんことか。
And his obsession with cats come in, his paranoia. He's like, there are all kinds of scary things to be afraid of here and that try to trick you. And he's like a cat for sure. And he uses his Nyanko name, which is a nickname for it. Because Nico is cat. And Kanoki-chan, I believe, is like kitty. Alice is like, I'm not the one afraid of cats. I'm worried that you are weaker than me, she thinks to herself. And I don't think Boris or the twins will be going that far with him. But I guess someone is terrifying him, and I get worried about that, she concludes to herself. And then she's like, but this child is part of the mafia, right? She thinks. She doesn't know that he's the cleaner, and that he like basically hides the clocks and has to fight against Ace and stuff. So like, yeah, he's homicidal. She's like, it's hard to believe, but Pierce seems to be part of the mafia, and she concludes to herself, I cannot see it.
猫は怖いよ。ネズミにとっては怖がらずにはいられない存在だよ。
He tells her the cat is scary, but it's an inevitable thing for a mouse.
あ、でも君はネズミじゃないから。でもネズミじゃなくても猫は。
He's like, oh, but you're not a mouse. But even if you're not a mouse, a cat is still something to be scared of. Alice is like, no reply.
何？信じる気になった？猫ってね、本当に怖くってね。
He's like, what? You don't want to believe me? And then he's like, a cat is really something to be scared of, and trails off. Alice is like, you haven't been exaggerating or fooling around about it, right? She gives him the one-eyed look. Pierce is like, question mark.
あ、騙されてるよ。騙されてる。
He tells her, oh, you're being fooled. You're being tricked.
にゃんこは怖いの。凶暴なの。君は騙されてる。猫は可愛くなんかないよ。
And I got a couple answers for this, so I just combined them to like keep the meaning the same without losing anything. And he's like, Nyako, cats are scary. It's prone to domestic violence. It's ferocious. And he's like, well, I wonder if you're a stranger in your case of deception because cats aren't cute. He's like, strange in your case of deception because he thinks she's weird for thinking this, that cats are cute. She has no reply. She just gives him a dirty look. She's like, how stupid, she thinks to herself. And she thinks also, he's not very smart. But then she's like, all like happy again. She's like, he's a cute little boy. He doesn't look dangerous at all, unlike a cat, because she knows they're predators. She likes them, though. And looking closely, you don't look like you're lying to me, she thinks. She's like, he wasn't fooling around with what he says. I mean, it should be that he's telling the truth to himself. Pierce cuts in. He's like, he's deceived you. He's fooling you, Alice. And Alice has no reply again. She gives him the one-eyed look. And then she's like, I wonder if he's the one being tricked. She thinks about Pierce. And Pierce aloud says, you're being fooled. She's like, I wonder if that's true after a pause. And she tells them there may be no child in this noisy, or she tells herself that there may be no child in this noisy world without the smell of blood attached to them. So she's like, maybe he is tricking me too. And then she thinks to herself, but he's still cute, even when he looks so stupid. Like, when he's acting stupid. And even if there's someone like that, she's concluding about the person without blood attached to them here. She's like, I'm not fooled by this, I suppose.
騙されてるんだってば。騙されてるのに。
She's like, she's still wiry. And he's like, she's being tricked. This is a day when someone is being fooled. He's still screaming about that. Alice has no reply. She smiles at him. And then the event ends. That was our long, long event with Pierce. I'm so happy that we got that. Alrighty, you guys. We're going to see if this worked. If it did, then great. If it doesn't, then oh well. Alright. Save. State saved, and